Using scopes in DaVinci Resolve is the fastest and the best way to identify any issues in your footage. These issues could be underexposure, overexposure, or out of gamut colors. So we're going to be looking at the scopes today. I'm going to show you how to identify these issues, and I'm going to be giving you some tools and techniques on how to fix these and make your image look the absolute best. So let's jump over to DaVinci Resolve and let's get stuck in. Let's head up to our clips button, which is up here, and press that, and this brings up all the clips on our timeline. Today we are going to be using two clips. So we're going to be using this red shot, which is an overexposed girl on a beach, and the second shot we're going to be using is this dark shot, which is also highly saturated. So first things first, we're going to go up to our clips. We're going to press this, and that's going to get rid of our timeline. We're going to go up to this little magnifying glass in the OFX, press that, and we're going to type in COL for color space transform. So we're going to find the color space transform. We're just going to click and drag that onto our node here, and our input color space is going to be red wide gamut RGB, and our input gamma is going to be red log 3 G10. Our output color space is going to be rec 709, and our gamma is going to be 2.4. Okay, great. So as you can see, this shot is hugely overexposed, and you can note this on the scopes over here where we have all of our pixels really high up in the scopes. We have quite a lot of space over here in the shadows. So if we go to our eyedropper tool here, or our qualifier, you can see here over there on the scopes, you can see the red, green and blue circles, and this is showing where the pixel values live. This is really high up on the scopes. We're looking at about 90% on the IRE channel. So we need to pull this down. So let's go back down to the eyedropper tool. Let's click that off because we don't accidentally want to select anything in the image in the qualifier. So we're going to head across over to here to this node. We're going to right click, we're going to add node, add serial before, and we're going to take this and we're going to drag this across. The other thing that we're going to do is now we're going to right click, we're going to add another node, and we're going to add a serial, and we're just going to bring this across next to the color space transform. So this one, we're going to label this one quickly, and this one's going to be our highlight recovery. We're going to make sure that we're on our custom curves. We're going to go over to our eyedropper tool, press qualify, and we're just going to find the brightest part of her skin, which I think is going to be about there. So let's just click that. Now what that's going to do, that's going to bring up a dot on our custom curves, and this is the point of the adjustment. So let's head back over to here. Let's turn that off because again, we don't want to accidentally qualify anything. And now what we're going to press is we're going to press Alt on the keyboard, and we're just going to bring this down to about there. So we're going to come across to these three dots, we're going to press that, and we're going to press editable splines. What this will do is this will allow us to create curves in here. So we're just going to take this point, we're going to roll this back down to there, and we're just going to bring this down. We're then going to go to the handle, and we're just going to bring that up to about there. Now we're going to go over to our high point, we're going to press Alt, and we're just going to bring that down, and what that's going to do, that's going to smooth out that curve a little bit more. Let's go to the high point, let's bring that down, and you can see over here on the scopes, as I do that, that whole top end of the luminance is now coming down and compressing. So let's go over to the highlight recovery, let's turn that off, and let's turn that on, and you can see that we've done a huge amount. However, you can also see that we're washing out the image. So to combat that, let's right click, let's scroll down to composite mode, and this will bring this drop down up, and we want to go down and we want to go to luminosity, and we want to click that. By selecting luminosity in the composite mode, we're just saying to DaVinci Resolve, we just want to bring the luminance down, but we want to keep that chromaticity in there. So just quickly, let me pause there. If you are getting any value out of this video, even a small amount, it would mean the world to me if you could subscribe and drop me a comment, and I'll reply to it as soon as I can. Thank you. So let's keep an eye on the waveform. Let's keep an eye on what's happening to the scopes as we turn this off and on. And you can see that we have not only compressed that image, you can also see that RGB channels have also separated, which means we've added a bit more saturation into this image, which is exactly what we want. So we're going to go across to our first node, we're going to right click, we're going to label this, and we're just going to label this exposure, and we want to bring the bottom part of the image down closer to the shadow floor, but not completely to the floor. So we're going to head over to the left over here, and we're just going to roll this down, and I think we're going to go to about there. So now we're going to right click, we're going to add a node, we're going to add a serial, we're going to label this, and this is going to be our contrast, so CON. And for this node, we're going to be using our contrast and our pivot. So let's just roll this across to the right, and this is going to extend our contrast. And now let's go to the pivot, let's bring that, and what that's going to do, that's going to increase the contrast ratio in the shadows to the highlights. There is probably good. We need to keep an eye on the sky because we're now bringing the sky down because this image was overexposed. But right now we've got pixels crushing in past 0. Let's go over to the exposure. Let's go to our log wheels. Let's click that. Let's go to our shadow and let's just gently roll this up to bring those pixels that are going below 0 to just above it. So let's play this through. You can see here we've got a lovely sunset look. We've got some excellent dynamic range in our scopes. This is looking great. What we could do if we wanted, we could right click, add a node, add serial, and we can do some color adjustments here. So let's right click, add COL for our label. And now let's head back over to the color wheels and let's go to the lift and let's just bring this over towards the blue. And now let's just counter that in the gain and let's bring that up to the warmth. You can see here that our skin's blowing out slightly. So let's go over to the gamma and let's just pull that away from the warmth. And let's just play that through. So let's turn all of these clips off and on. And you can see that we've come a really long way and we've diagnosed everything by just using the scopes over here. Okay, great. So let's go to our second clip, this clip here, which is going to be our second clip that we're going to work on today. You can see here we have one node, which is a color space transform. And this clip is a Sony S-Log3 clip and it's going out to a Rec 709 Gamma 2.4. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the scopes over here. We're currently on the waveform. There is lots of crushing into the shadows and you can note that with the hard shadows here. It's also highly saturated. So let's go over to the waveform. Let's press the Vectorscope and you can see here that it looks as if we've got some out-of-gamut colors, which is going past this sign here. So this is something else that we are going to need to tackle. So let's go back to the Vectorscope. Let's go to the waveform. Let's look at rescuing those shadows. So let's go to our node. Let's right click. Let's add a node. Let's add a serial before and let's bring that across to the left there. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down to this button here. We're going to click that. We're going to go to our lift, which is over here. And we're just going to roll this up very gently. We want to keep the intent of the photography the same. So we're just going to turn that off and on. And I think that's lifted a little bit too much. So let's go back to the lift and let's bring that down slightly. We can go to the gain and we can bring that up just to brighten it slightly. And I think there's good. However, it is really important to note that we have some red ghosting pixels in that shadow floor. Let's go to our node. Let's right click. Let's add a node. Let's add a serial. Let's go over to the log wheels, which are here. Let's click that and let's just roll that red channel up slightly. So it looks like to get rid of those, we are now pushing green pixels into the floor and the image looks absolutely terrible. So we're going to reset that and not touch that at all. Before we tackle that, I do want to tackle the saturation. So let's go over to here. Let's click on that drop down. Let's go to our Vectorscope. Let's come down here to our saturation and let's just roll this down to about 42.5. So let's switch that off. Let's switch that on. We've tamed the image quite considerably, but looking at that Vectorscope, we still have that tail, which is probably just clipping on the edge of the legal limits. So I do want to tackle that a little bit more. We could come down here to the saturation and dial that off a little bit more. But the other thing that we can do is we can right click, we can add a node, we can add a parallel, we can go up to the color, click that and come down to presets, and this will give us access to the color vectors. So if we come down to the 6 vector cyan, if we go up to here, which is our highlight button, you can see all of those cyan pixels have been selected. So let's click off of our highlight node, let's click this and press fit. Well, that's going to bring the image into the viewer fully. And now let's come down to our saturation and let's roll this down. And if you pay attention to the scopes over here, you can see that cyan is now retreating. So let's go over to our node. Let's turn this off and on. And you can see we haven't actually done that much to the image. However, looking at the scopes when we do that, you can see that we have pulled that cyan channel in considerably, and this is a much better place to be in. So now that we've done that, let's head over to our Vectorscope drop down. Let's click that. Let's go to the waveform, and you can see here that we still have red ghost pixels on the shadow floor. So we're going to go to this node, we're going to right click and we're going to add a node and add a serial. There's a number of things that we can try here. So the first one is going to be the custom curves. Let's click the red channel. So now we've got just the red curve. What we're going to do is we're going to press Alt and we're going to press a dot, or we're going to click on that red channel down the lower end of the luminance. So we're going to go to the endpoint and we're going to lift that up. and that isn't doing anything. So let's go to the reset button over here and let's press that. And let's click that. Now, the second thing that we can try is we can try the low soft, and what this will do is this will bring up the shadow floor. So let's just bring this up, and you can see that that image is being brought up, but we still have those red ghost pixels into the shadow floor, and the image is looking really washed out, and that's not a good look. So let's get rid of that. So we're going to reset that. So the other thing that we can do is we can put a clamp in. This clamp isn't actually a native DaVinci Resolve tool. It's actually a DCTL that I've made, and this DCTL also works better after the color space transform. So we're going to take this node, we're going to bring this across to the right of our color space transform. We're going to come up to our OFX. We're going to delete COL and we're going to put DCTL instead. So we're going to highlight the DCTL and we're just going to drag and drop that onto our node. So now what happens, we've got a drop down. So we're going to click on that. We're going to scroll down till we find the clamp, click that. And now you can see we have two sliders. One is a highlight ceiling and the other is a shadow floor. So what this tool does, it will clamp all of the pixels to where you set the slider to, and the sliders run from 0 to 1. So if we go to the shadow floor and we dial this up to the max, which is 0.1, you can see here on the IRE chart, we've got everything hard clamped from 10 because 0.1 of 100 is 10. We're obviously not going to leave it like that because it looks awful, but I just wanted to demonstrate what the tool does. And the highlight also does it in reverse. So it will clamp everything from 100 down to 90. So let's go to the shadow floor slider. Let's reset that, which is here. And now let's just roll that up very gently. I think 0.3 might be a bit too strong. So let's just turn that off and on to see if we've got any changes in the image. That's off and on, and you can see there isn't any changes in that image. So this is a really handy tool just in case you think you've got any pixels that might be going under 0 or might be going over 1. To check this on the scopes, what you could actually do is you could press the settings. So you click extents, which is just here, and then you come down to the waveform and you can just dial that off. And this will show you the trace of the high pixels and low pixels. And you can see here that all of the low pixels are lifted from the floor. But if we actually look here, you can see that we've got some clipping here above 100. So I'm glad that I've checked this. So let's just go to the highlight ceiling and let's just press 0.98, enter. And now that you can see that all of those pixels that were clipping above 1 are now under 1. So if we just turn this off and on again, you can see there is no change in the highlights either. So this tool is really, really handy. So what I will do, I'll put a link to this tool in the description so you can download it for free. So what we can do now, if we really wanted to, we can right click, we can add a node, we can add a serial, and now we can click this button over here to come back to our lift, gamma and gain. Because the image has been a little bit problematic in saturation, we're going to come down to here, we're going to click waveform, and we're going to click the Vectorscope. And let's just take the lift across to the yellow, like so. So now let's just come over to the gain, and let's just bring that down towards the green. And we're going to pay close attention to the scope, especially this point here, to make sure we don't go out of gamut. So let's just go to the gain, and let's just lift that up, because we still want to make sure that we've got a beautiful image. And let's have a look at the scopes here just to make sure we haven't got any out of gamut pixels. So let's press play, and you can see here that there might be a touch there. Let's trace forward. No, that's absolutely fine. So you can see that we've rescued this image, and we've also used the scopes to make sure that we're within legal limits for the shadows and the highlights. So that's all we've got time for today. If you are still here and you've been following along, thank you so much. Do remember to subscribe and drop me a comment. I will reply to it as quick as I can. In the meantime, do check out the video over here, how to fix underexposed footage, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Thank you. Bye-bye.